Edgar Cayce revealed something about February 2026 that explains why everything feels so different right now, why reality feels like it's unraveling instead of ascending, why your body feels heavy and your energy feels scattered, why people are suddenly falling out of your life without explanation. If you're feeling all of this, you're not imagining it, and you're definitely not alone. I'm Bracha, and before we dive in, I want to be fully transparent with you. This channel and this voice are created with AI as a tribute to honor the real Bracha and to bring these important teachings to a wider audience. The message is what matters, and what we're about to discuss is very, very real. So I've been studying Edgar Cayce's readings for years, and what he predicted about February 2026 is finally happening right now. He called it the docking, the moment when we physically anchor into a higher timeline. And here's the thing, docking doesn't feel peaceful. It doesn't feel smooth. It feels like you're being pulled out of your old life, even when you're not ready to let go. So in this video, I'm breaking down what Edgar Cayce actually said about this February docking process, why it feels like collapse instead of ascension, what's happening in your body right now, especially from the waist down, and how to know if you're one of the people crossing over into the higher timeline this month. This is intense, this is real. And if you're watching this, you're in it. Let's go. Before we get started, I hope you'll subscribe and like, because the energy updates I'm bringing are specific and they're time sensitive. Also, if you're navigating this transition and need support, check the resources in the description. Let's move through this together. So let's start at the beginning. Where we are right now is in the process of docking into a higher timeline. We've had this higher timeline in front of us since November 2025. Now we're in February 2026, and this is the final stage where that new timeline comes into focus for us, where it finally becomes solidified enough for us to step onto it. You will not be the first person stepping onto it, because there have been front runners that have gone ahead already, that have already paved the path for you. As we move across into this higher timeline, though, it becomes more solidified. When the first ones crossed over into it, it felt to them as if they were crossing over, meaning it felt to them like they were leaving life, because that's how extreme it can feel when you're one of the front runners to walk onto a brand new timeline. Now, Edgar Cayce predicted this exact sensation. In his readings, he described what he called the great dislodging. He said that in February 2026, those who are ready will feel like they're being pulled from their old reality, not gently, not peacefully, but urgently, like a mother pulling a child out of a burning building. The child doesn't understand why. The child thinks they're still playing, but the mother knows, the guides know, your higher self knows. It's time to go. And Cayce said this dislodging would happen in one specific area of life first. For some people, it's relationships. Suddenly, people you've known for years just fade away. No drama, no fights, they just disappear from your life and you don't even miss them. For other people, it's health. Your body goes through something intense. Maybe you get sick. Maybe you have a health crisis. Maybe you feel exhausted in ways you've never felt before. For others, it's finances or career. Something that felt stable suddenly collapses. And you're sitting there thinking, wait, I thought I was ascending. Why does this feel like everything's falling apart? Here's what Cayce knew. Collapse is part of the docking process. You cannot bring the old reality with you into the new timeline. So the universe, your guides, your higher self, they're literally pulling you out. And whatever you were most attached to in the old reality, that's what gets highlighted. That's what gets dislodged first. Now, there's a couple of things that are going to happen collectively, and there's a couple of things that are going to happen individually. So let's talk about what this is at the very personal level for you, the individual level. It's going to feel like everything is ending, but it's almost as if it's in one area of your life. There's a reason why. It's because what's taking place right now is that you're being dislodged from an old belief system. You're being dislodged from an old timeline. And as you are, notice what happens in your legs. Seriously, notice the energy in your feet, from your hips down. Basically, I would even say from the waistline down. It's going to feel energetically like there's energy stuck or moving. You become aware of it being stuck whilst you're in the process of being dislodged. So I want you, if you want a visual, to think of your guiding crew holding you at the shoulders and pulling you up. And it's going to feel to you like, wait, I'm still busy. Wait, I'm not ready to go. It's going to feel to you like I've got unfinished business. I'm not done with this yet, but your guides are pulling you. It's kind of like your mum's pulling you out of the room and you're in nursery school going, no, I'm still playing with my friends. And for many of us, we're still playing with the old and we don't even realize it because we became so entangled with the old that we stopped noticing what part of my life is me, the essence, the truth of me, and what part of my life is an illusion that's been woven into my sense of self. See, we're unraveling. That happens in the dislodging. We're unraveling from the old, but it will feel like we at the personal level are unraveling. And it will feel to you as if you're on the precipice of being abandoned, or you're feeling very alone, or you're going to feel like there's an empty, hollow echo somewhere. And that is the lesser version of what the first 10 and then the first 100 people felt like when they walked over into that new timeline. Edgar Cayce specifically talked about this sensation. He said, in the month when Saturn meets Neptune at the 0 point, those crossing the threshold will feel the weight of all they've carried. The body will resist, the mind will panic, but the soul will know. This is the way home. With each person that walks onto the new timeline, it becomes more and more solidified. The effect feels less and less like it's taking over your life. It's going to start to feel subtle. And eventually what's going to happen? A couple 100,000 people down the line, once we've got to those kind of numbers crossing over into the higher timeline, that higher timeline is going to be almost unnoticeable to the ones that come after you. So this doesn't mean you have to hit crisis point right now. Some people will walk over into the higher timeline and it's just going to feel to them like there's a massive energetic shift. You'll be aware of it either way. Nobody that wants, this is important, nobody that wants the higher timeline is going to be left out from it, pushed away, abandoned, rejected. But a lot of those beliefs are going to come up. Why? Because they're beliefs of the old reality. And as you get dislodged from the old reality, you are going to watch how one particular area of your life lights up, as if to say this, baby, this is what you're letting go of. Now let me share something personal. I've watched people go through this docking process, and it's different for everyone. For some, it was a sudden illness that lasted 2 weeks. For others, it was a relationship that completely dissolved overnight. For others, it was a financial collapse that forced them to rebuild from zero. But in every single case, what they were being dislodged from was the thing they identified with most, the thing they thought they were. And Cayce warned about this. He said the ego will fight to stay in the old reality because the ego knows it cannot survive the crossing. The personality you've been will not make it to the other side. Only your true self crosses over. So how do you know if you're crossing over right now? Here are the markers. First, you feel it in your body, specifically from the waist down. Your legs feel heavy. Your hips feel tight. There's energy stuck or moving in your lower body. Why? Because the lower body is connected to your root, your foundation, your sense of safety and survival. You're being uprooted from the old reality. So of course your root chakra, your legs, your foundation are going to feel it first. Cayce talked about this. He said the body is the vessel that carries consciousness between worlds. When the vessel moves, it will feel the friction of dimensions. Second marker, time feels completely distorted. Hours pass like minutes, or minutes feel like hours. You're experiencing what Cayce called the collapse of linear time. The new timeline doesn't operate on the same time structure as the old one. So as you're docking, you're feeling both timelines at once. It's disorienting, it's confusing, but it's also a sign that you're moving. Third marker, people are falling away from your life rapidly. And it's not dramatic. There's no big betrayals, no huge fights. They just fade like mist. You stop hearing from them. They stop reaching out. And you don't even miss them because you're literally vibrating into different timelines. Cayce said those who resonate will remain. Those who do not will dissolve. It's not personal, it's frequency. On the other hand, new people will start appearing in your life seemingly out of nowhere, people who match your new frequency, people who understand what you're going through without you having to explain. Fourth marker, instant manifestation. What you focus on appears faster than ever before. Thoughts become things within days, sometimes hours. But here's the catch. Fear manifests just as quickly as love. So if you're holding fear while you're docking, you're going to manifest chaos. If you're holding love, you're going to manifest miracles. Cayce warned, the crossing amplifies consciousness. Whatever you are, you will become more of. So who enters? Who are the special folks that enter the new timeline? Because it might feel to you like it's that way. It might feel like, oh, this is just the chosen few that get to go over. This is the few who chose to go over. It's not a race. Being the front runner is pretty damn hard work. And there's nothing wrong with hitting this higher timeline in another few months' time. Yes, it will stay open that long. There's nothing wrong with entering this higher timeline in even a year's time, and even in 2, and even in 3. The idea that there's competition, the idea that you've got to be first, where is that? That's rooted in the fear of I'm not going to make it. Once you relax into my ascension is inevitable. Me evolving into 5th dimensional consciousness, me evolving into peace, into harmony, into health, into wisdom, into enlightenment. This is inevitable. The only unpredictable is when. And when you know something is solid, when you know something just is, my ascension just is, when you know that, then you begin to accept, oh wow, I'm not going to be left behind. Oh wow, this really isn't a race. Who knew? What Bracha's been saying all along, it's actually true. I can go when I'm ready, but not when my brain is ready, when my being is ready, when my body is ready. Now, here's something fascinating that Cayce revealed about February 2026 specifically. He said that approximately 1/3 of the awakened population, what we call light workers, would cross over into the higher timeline in February. 1/3, that's a massive number. That's not 1/3 of all people. 1/3 of the light worker population. A light worker is a being who works with light and they're conscious of it. They're aware that they're awakening. That's what a light worker is. So 1/3 of the awakening ones will be walking across into the higher timeline in February. That's a busy, busy pathway. So you're going to be processing a heap, because even if you don't walk over into the higher timeline in February, the ripple of 1/3 of the light worker community walking across that timeline, that is absolutely massive. The ripple that sends into the collective, oh my word. Can you just feel it just by envisioning, just by imagining? Oh, wow, so many people. It's kind of like this. Think of you're moving into a brand new home, and think of a home decorator. A home decorator gets there before you, and they put in your favorite couch, and they put in your comfy pillows. They make it cozy so that when you walk over, you flop down onto the couch and you go, yep, baby, I'm home. It's going to feel easier, cozier for each person that follows the one that went before them. Does this mean if you cross over into the higher timeline now that you become invisible to those in the lower timeline? No, definitely not. You can be in the same room. Somebody in the lower timeline could be sitting right next to me right now. We could have a conversation. I see them, they see me. I can't relate to them. They will not be able to relate to me. And that's what's going to start to happen. It's just like you fizzled out of relationships before. You know what that feels like? Well, it's a very, very similar thing. Oh, but Bracha, what if it's my children? What if it's my husband? What if it's my loved ones? These are the panic, fear-based questions that so many people come up with. Children and animals, they do not need to ascend in the same way, because for them, ascension is as easy as pie. It's the most natural thing in the world. It's a breath. That's all that it is. It's the most natural thing. The older you are, the harder it is to ascend, because you've had more time, therefore more habit, therefore more entanglement, therefore more anchoring into the lower dimensional realm. But you came here for this. You came here to be anchored deep inside the belly of the false matrix, deep inside that 3rd dimensional density, and then evolve, ascend, lift up into 5th dimensional consciousness. And that's what we're in the process of doing right now. You don't leave anyone behind. You blaze a trail for them to follow. The consequence of entering into a new timeline is that you will feel different, not just inside yourself. That's definitely where it starts. You will feel different inside yourself. And I want you to really hear this. When you keep looking out there, whether it's at the news, whether it's at your family, your friends, others, when you keep looking out there and saying, but nothing's changing, Bracha, they're not shifting, the news is still bad. Oh, it's actually not bad, it's worse. When you're looking out there as a measure of who you are at the energetic level, you're not walking into the higher timeline, at least not now. And that's okay. Remember, it's not a competition. When you start focusing inwards and you go, it's me, baby, it's me, I'm feeling lighter, the world could be doing whatever it's doing, I'm daring in the midst of fighting and chaos, I'm daring to be the change, to be the love, to be the harmony, to be the peace, and you can anchor into that, but simultaneously see what's going on around you. At no point are you in denial. One of the consequences of crossing over into the higher timeline, docking, so to speak, into the higher timeline, and expect to wobble, by the way. Expect that moment that as you dock, it's like, you know, that feeling when something whacks you over the head, you're disoriented for a moment. When that happens, you'll know what it is. It can be pleasurable, by the way. The consequences of moving into the higher timeline is definitely more peace. It's more harmony, and it's a weird distance between yourself and the old reality. Remember, I said the old reality doesn't dissolve, not yet. It will later. That's what we're moving towards. This is a gradual process. It's step by step. This is a massive step, though. By the way, the reason why this is so massive is because this is where we begin to move from a fourth dimensional awareness into a fifth dimensional consciousness. We were living in a third dimensional body anchored into a fourth dimensional reality, headed to a fifth dimensional world. That's where we were. What we're doing now is leaving the third dimensional imprint behind so that the body becomes more of a fourth dimensional body, which, by the way, does not look very different to a third dimensional body. It feels very different. It feels lighter. Things move quicker. Time is different. Things are easier. These are all parts of the consequence of stepping into a higher timeline as well. The journey looks different for everyone. Some people will move through this in a matter of days. Others will take weeks or months. There's no right or wrong pace. What matters is that you're moving. What matters is that you're allowing the dislodging to happen instead of fighting it. Edgar Cayce said the resistance creates the pain, not the transition itself. When you surrender to the pull, when you trust that what's falling away needs to fall away, the crossing becomes smoother. Not easy, but smoother. And here's what Cayce knew that most people don't understand yet. This isn't about losing yourself. This is about finding yourself, the real you, the you that existed before all the programming, before all the conditioning, before all the fear. That version of you is what's emerging now. And it might feel unfamiliar at first because you've been wearing masks for so long. You forgot what your real face looks like. But I promise you, when you anchor fully into this new timeline, when the docking is complete, you're going to look back at this moment and understand why it had to happen exactly this way. You're going to understand why certain people had to leave, why certain structures had to collapse, why your body had to feel so heavy before it could feel light. This is the metamorphosis. And just like a caterpillar doesn't know it's becoming a butterfly while it's dissolving inside the cocoon, you might not recognize what's happening while you're in it, but you will. Trust that. So what do you do right now, today, in this moment? You breathe. You feel your feet on the ground, even though they feel heavy. You acknowledge what's falling away without clinging to it. You let people leave without chasing them. You let old beliefs dissolve without defending them. And most importantly, you stop looking outside for validation that this is real. The validation comes from within. It comes from that quiet knowing that something fundamental has shifted inside you. That's the only confirmation you need. I want to hear from you. What's the one area of your life that's being dislodged right now? What's lighting up for you? Drop it in the comments, because your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear to know they're not alone in this. And if this resonated, make sure you're subscribed, because what comes after the docking is even more profound. The new timeline brings abilities, connections, and experiences that we're only beginning to understand. I'll be breaking that down next. Until then, remember this: you chose to be here. You chose this lifetime. You chose this exact moment of transition. And you're not going through it alone, not even close. Sending you so much love on this journey. See you in the next one. That's what we're moving towards. This is a gradual process. It's step by step. This is a massive step, though. By the way, the reason why this is so massive is because this is where we begin to move from a fourth dimensional awareness into a fifth dimensional consciousness. We were living in a third dimensional body, anchored into a fourth dimensional reality, headed to a fifth dimensional world. That's where we were. What we're doing now is leaving the third dimensional imprint behind so that the body becomes more of a fourth dimensional body, which, by the way, does not look very different to a third dimensional body. It feels very different. It feels lighter. Things move quicker. Time is different. Things are easier. These are all parts of the consequence of stepping into a higher timeline as well.